In the contemporary era, the currency of status has shifted dramatically. It's no longer about street credibility, but rather the volume of likes, retweets, and followers one commands online. The measure of one's coolness isn't determined by physical toughness on the streets. This digital landscape also means that for those subjected to bullying, the torment doesn't cease upon returning home. Lee Duffy, however, was not a product of this modern digital age. In his youth, stature was gauged by one's physical dominance. The more individuals you could overpower, the less likely you were to be a victim yourself. Duffy, often on the receiving end of aggression, lived by these rules. To properly convey Lee Duffy's narrative, it's essential to begin at the very start. Born on the 11th of June 1965 in Middlesbrough, Lee's early years saw a move to South Bank, where he would spend his lifetime. His childhood, to put it plainly, was fraught with difficulty, both within and outside the confines of his home. His father, embodying the archetype of a working-class drunkard, would often return home to physically abuse his wife and children. Notably, his father once pushed his wife out of a window, resulting in a broken collarbone. The circumstances surrounding her death remain unclear, but what is known is that Duffy barred his children from attending their mother's funeral, a decision that exemplified the psychological torment he inflicted upon his family. Unknowingly, he instilled in them the notion that to obtain what one desires, one must be willing to engage in physical confrontations. This principle fundamentally shaped Lee's approach to resolving conflicts throughout his life. Welcome to the Pursuit of Perpetrators channel, where I unravel the veiled tales of cryptic crimes. Life outside his home provided no respite for Lee, who was relentlessly bullied at school, mocked for the size of his head and lips, with cruel taunts suggesting he appeared disabled. His physique remained slight, with puberty bringing little change to his stature. A pivotal incident occurred at the age of 14, when Lee was ambushed by 6 individuals and found himself incapable of defending himself. This moment was a revelation for Duffy, leading him to the conclusion that to escape the cycle of victimization, he needed to adopt the role of the aggressor. Leaving school behind, Duffy turned his sights towards vocational training, hoping to harness his knack for hands-on work. Yet, in South Bank, job opportunities were scant, marking it as a particularly tough environment for aspiring youths. Duffy's efforts to maintain a law-abiding life soon faltered, leading him into the shadows of drug misuse. Initially, his drug use was casual, but it quickly spiraled into a dependency. This plunge into addiction served as a gateway into the narcotics trade, marking the beginning of his journey from consumer to supplier. Duffy rapidly ascended the ranks of the criminal hierarchy, primarily leveraging intimidation tactics. His transformation began when he resolved to no longer be a victim, dedicating himself to bodybuilding at the Grinchtown Boys Club. It was during this period that Duffy set his sights on dominating the Middlesbrough criminal scene. Having achieved his desired physique, Duffy felt equipped to unleash significant havoc. His imposing presence became a tool to cow rivals, and he did not shy away from engaging in fierce confrontations to assert his dominance. Rumors circulated that a congenital anomaly, arms slightly longer than average, granted him an edge in physical altercations. This speculation gained some traction amongst those who remembered him as notably gangly before his physical transformation. Although Duffy's brawling skills led some to mistakenly label him a boxer, such a designation would not hold up against contemporary definitions of the sport. He did engage in fistfights for financial gain, albeit in unsanctioned bouts, making terms like strongman or enforcer more accurate descriptions of his role. Duffy's reputation as a formidable figure in Middlesbrough's criminal underworld was cemented by his sheer physicality and volatile temper, a stark departure from his earlier years of vulnerability. His unruly aggression eventually resulted in incarceration, where he encountered several of the UK's most infamous criminals. These connections remembered Duffy well, a testament to his notorious reputation. Prison life saw him further honing his physical and combative capabilities. Despite frequent altercations, Duffy managed to navigate his sentence with a certain level of discretion, culminating in his release in May 1990. This period of confinement did not diminish his resolve, but instead reinforced his confidence in his fighting prowess. While incarcerated, Duffy found himself at odds with another prominent figure in the Middlesbrough criminal circuit, Viv Graham. Recognizing Graham's significant influence, Duffy singled him out as a primary adversary, eager to challenge him to a showdown to determine the true powerhouse of Middlesbrough's underworld. Graham, a shrewd businessman skilled in exerting control over his rivals, was not one to be easily subdued or coerced into a fight to establish dominance over the criminal milieu. The anticipated clash between Duffy and Graham, however, never materialized. Graham, preoccupied with his enterprises and possessing a level of pragmatism, disregarded Duffy's provocations. The reasons behind Graham's refusal to engage in a physical confrontation with Duffy are varied. Some theorize that Graham, confident in his superior status, saw no merit in proving himself through combat. Others speculate that fear of losing his esteemed position to Duffy in a direct confrontation might have deterred him. Regardless, Graham's steadfast avoidance of a fight with Duffy was perceived by the latter as a profound affront, particularly as Duffy's dependence on narcotics deepened. In his quest to confront Graham, Duffy frequently ventured to Newcastle, where Graham was based, often in a state of intoxication and aggression. It's rumoured that Duffy once assaulted 4 bouncers outside one of Graham's nightclubs in a bid to draw him out. Throughout the 15 months following his release from prison, Duffy was implicated in over 96 incidents reported to the police, not all of which were directly linked to his feud with Graham. Many of these episodes unfolded in the vicinity of Middlesbrough's nightlife spots, triggered when Duffy felt his honour or reputation was under attack, a matter he took with utmost seriousness. Duffy's increasingly volatile temper, exacerbated by drug use, meant his mere presence was enough to unsettle an entire venue, prompting patrons to either depart out of fear or in anticipation of the turmoil that seemed to trail him. This notoriety for inciting violence became widely acknowledged in Middlesbrough, casting a shadow over Duffy's interactions within the community. Furthermore, Duffy's life was marked by danger, having survived 3 assassination attempts, including being shot on 2 occasions. The third assassination attempt on Duffy involved an incredibly perilous scenario where he was doused in petrol. His resilience through such life-threatening situations led his acquaintances to liken him to the Terminator, given his uncanny ability to survive against the odds. These brushes with death, however, only fueled his further descent into drug abuse and escalated his involvement in violent confrontations. Duffy's notorious streak of violence, regrettably, was nearing its tragic culmination. On the 24th of August 1991, Duffy found himself in a nightclub, significantly under the influence of cocaine, cannabis, and ecstasy. It was there he encountered David Allison, a once close companion turned estranged due to a falling out, exacerbated by Duffy's burgeoning notoriety within Middlesbrough. The animosity between Duffy and Allison was common knowledge, setting a tense backdrop for their encounter at the club. Eyewitnesses recall a palpable shift in atmosphere the moment Duffy entered, the air thick with anticipation of the inevitable conflict. The disagreement between the 2 men rapidly escalated from verbal jabs to a forceful command from the club's security to take their dispute outside. The confrontation swiftly turned physical, with Duffy gaining the upper hand, as was typical in his altercations. He dominated Allison, relentlessly forcing his head against the ground. Onlookers, accustomed to Duffy's displays of dominance, expected this to be yet another instance of him asserting his authority through intimidation and violence. As some spectators began to disperse, fearing the worst outcome for Allison, the unforeseeable happened. Amidst the fray, one of Allison's friends managed to pass him a knife. In a desperate act, Allison thrust the knife into Duffy's side, a move that caught everyone off guard and brought Duffy to the ground, marking a sudden and shocking turn in the confrontation. As the altercation reached its grim conclusion, the onlookers dissipated rapidly, leaving behind only a handful to summon emergency services. Despite prompt medical intervention, Duffy succumbed to his injuries, passing away at 3:55 a.m. on the 25th of August, 1991. The prevailing belief was that no one would implicate Allison, driven by a collective apprehension of becoming entangled in the aftermath. Yet, in a surprising turn, Allison took responsibility for his actions, voluntarily surrendering to the authorities. In the ensuing trial, he was exonerated, with the jury accepting his plea of self-defense. Lee Duffy's legacy as one of the UK's most notorious criminals, particularly within the northern crime circles, remains indelible. He was a figure who elicited a wide range of emotions: admiration from some, fear from others, and contempt from many. Regardless of the diverse views on Duffy, his story has left an indelible mark, ensuring that his memory will persist. The fascination with his life story has inspired several books and films, the most recent being The Whole Moon, all contributing to the enduring quest to fathom the complexities of his character. While opinions on Duffy vary, with some portraying him as a fundamentally decent individual caught in the tumult of his era, his narrative continues to captivate, a testament to the enigmatic nature of his existence and the lasting impact of his life and demise. Some argue that Duffy was simply a product of his environment, a bully who knew no other way to assert himself, a narrative not uncommon in the gritty landscape of Middlesbrough's criminal underbelly. Among Duffy's acquaintances, Lee Harrison, who also navigated the challenging path of life in this environment, emerged successfully as Hooligan X, a renowned MC celebrated across local nightclubs. Our forthcoming documentary will delve into the life of Hooligan X, offering insights into his journey from the streets to the stage, so do stay tuned for that. Both Duffy and Hooligan X spent their entire lives in Middlesbrough, inevitably becoming entwined with the local drug scene. While Duffy carved out a reputation through physical confrontations, Hooligan X made his mark as a DJ and MC, showcasing the divergent paths one can tread within the same challenging circumstances. Many lament that both men's lives were cut short by their accelerated lifestyles, with some suggesting Duffy foresaw his premature demise, choosing to live recklessly as a result. This perception of Duffy continues to resonate with many young individuals in similar predicaments, looking up to him as a symbol of defiance against adversity. Duffy's legacy, particularly in Middlesbrough, remains potent, sparking varied debates about his true nature. Was he merely a thug, as some contend, or a troubled soul struggling to find his voice amidst a turbulent upbringing? We invite you to share your views on Lee Duffy, a figure of intimidation or a misunderstood individual shaped by his harsh environment. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this investigative rundown enlightening, do hit the like button, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe to the Pursuit of Perpetrators channel. Don't forget to give the bell icon a tap too, ensuring you stay updated with each new video I release. Your support means a great deal to me, and I'm eager to reconvene with you tomorrow. Until then, maintain that inquisitive spirit and never cease in your quest for truth.